In this video tutorial, we are going to walk you through how to set up a WP Courseware quiz. Now, there are two types of quizzes. The first type of quiz is a blocked quiz, which means you can block a student's progress based on the percentage of correct answers on the quiz. And the second type of quiz is the non-blocked type of quiz, where students can proceed to the next unit regardless of the quiz result. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is go down to course units, and we want to go ahead and add a new unit. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want to create a course unit, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually name this, and what we're going to name this is End of Module 1 Quiz. The actual quiz is going to be associated with this particular unit, and so what you can actually do is you can actually add some content in this area. For instance, if you had a handout or some sort of quiz help that you wanted to allow the student to download, you can add that here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to simply publish this unit. Next, what we want to do is we actually want to go ahead and create our quiz. So if we go under Training Courses and add quiz or survey, and we're going to give our quiz a title here. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just name it the same thing. You can give it a description here. And next, what we want to do is we want to pick which type of quiz we want to do. Now, with WP Courseware, you have the option to do survey mode, which we'll cover in a separate video, or we can do quiz mode blocking, which would require the student or the trainee to correctly answer the questions before proceeding to the next unit or module. And obviously, the non-blocking would allow the student to proceed regardless of the quiz grade. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and start off with quiz mode blocking. Next, we want to pick the percentage we want the student to obtain before proceeding to the next unit or module. So I'm just going to pick 55%. Now, the next option here is, do you want to show the answers to your student after the quiz has been taken? This is only a valid option with a non-blocking quiz, and it doesn't apply to blocked quizzes. So now what we're going to do is click Save Quiz Settings. Okay, so now we've actually created our first quiz. Now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and add in some either multiple choice questions or true or false questions. So what we want to do is we want to add a true or false question. And so I'm going to go ahead and type a question in here. And we're going to go ahead and select the correct answer. Now, if you notice, you have the option to delete this question, or you can actually move it. If we have multiple questions, you can reorder them just by clicking and dragging these questions, which is a really cool feature. Okay, so let's add another true or false question. And we'll go ahead and select the correct answer. Now I want to go ahead and show you a multiple choice question. And we're going to select the correct answer. Now I'm going to go ahead and reposition our multiple choice answer right in between the true or false questions. And that's all there is to that. Once you have your questions added to the quiz, we're going to go ahead and click our button Save Questions. And now we have our very first quiz created. Now, one last thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and assign our unit and our quiz. So let's go over to our training courses, and we'll go ahead and select modules, units, and quiz ordering under the actual course that you want to modify. Okay, now you'll notice here on the right hand side, we've got unassigned units and unassigned quizzes. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and add our end of module quiz unit, and then we want to add our quiz within that unit. So if you remember correctly, I created a unit to begin with, and then we created the quiz afterward. And the reason we did this is if you would like to add some sort of content to be available for the quiz, we wanted you to be able to add that content in a simple, relative way. So the easiest way to do that was to actually create a quiz within a unit. So once you've added both your unit and your quiz within the unit, we're going to click Save Changes to Ordering. And now what we want to do is we actually want to go and take our quiz. So now if I go over to our test website, I'm actually logged in as a regular user here. And if you notice in front of me, I've got a course outline, and I have yet to complete any of our course units. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the very first one. And here at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and click Mark as Completed. And then I'm going to go to our next unit. I'm going to go ahead and click Mark as Completed on this one as well. Our next unit, and I believe there was I think 4 units, and then we had our quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this one completed, and we'll keep proceeding forward. And I think this is the final unit prior to the quiz. So right after this, we're going to have our quiz. So if you notice up here at the top, the first thing I want to point out is where I entered some text. It says content area here. That's where you would actually add some supplemental content if you wanted to download, or maybe even a video or some kind of help file that you want to provide to your student prior to taking the quiz, or even maybe specific quiz instructions like, close all other browser windows, please, no cheating, or things of that nature. And so if we go ahead and scroll down, you'll notice we've got our 3 questions in the order that we saved them, which is actually the true or false, the multiple choice, and the true or false last. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and take the quiz, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get less than a 55%. So that means I've got to get 2 answers wrong. So the first question, can you create multiple courses with WP Courseware? Well, of course you can, but I'm going to go ahead and say false. Question number 2, which of the following can be converted to a unit? Well, both pages and posts can be converted to a unit, but I'm going to go ahead and say none of the above. And the final question, can you assign a single unit to multiple modules? And the answer to that is actually false, so I'm going to answer that one correctly. So I should have gotten 2 out of the 3 incorrect. And so let's go ahead and submit our answers. And it automatically grades and tells you we only got 1 out of 3, 33% correct. And it gives us the percentage we needed to actually progress to the next unit. Okay, and at this point, if the student tries to progress to the next unit, they will be unable to. As you see, we would need to complete the previous unit first. And so if I go ahead and click back and we look at our quiz here, what we can do is we can simply either retake the quiz on the fly, or we can go back and study our material and come back to our course outline at a later time. You'll notice that Unit 5, end of Module 1 quiz, does not show as complete. And we can click back into the quiz and we can retake it at this point. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do here is answer all the questions correctly and click Submit Answer. And you'll notice now we've got 3 out of 3 answers correct. And now we can proceed to the next unit. Okay, so that was the quiz feature with blocking. If you remember correctly, we blocked the student from progressing to the next unit because they did not achieve the percentage that was required. So now what we want to do is create a quiz non-blocking. And to do so, we're going to go back over to our admin panel, and we're going to do the very exact same thing to set up our quiz. So firstly, we're going to go ahead and create a course unit. And I'm going to call this one Pop Quiz Module 2. And again, you can add some content, and I'm going to go ahead and say Publish. Now we're going to go over and click on Training Courses, Add Quiz or Survey. And so I'm going to go ahead and give our quiz a title and a description. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to click Quiz Mode Non-Blocking. And on this particular type of quiz, we're going to go ahead and show the answers, and we're going to click Save Settings. Okay, now we just need to add some questions. So we're going to add a couple of questions here. I'm going to go ahead and start with the true or false. And we're going to go ahead and add another true or false question. And we're going to go ahead and add a multiple choice question. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and reorder these as well. I'm going to go ahead and drag the second true or false underneath to be very last. And I think I'm going to move the multiple choice question to the very top. And I'm going to click Save Questions. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and assign our unit and our quiz. And since this is actually a pop quiz, I'm going to place this particular unit right in the middle of Module 2. And I'm going to go ahead and add our associated quiz. And I'm going to click Save Changes to Ordering. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and take our second quiz. And I'm going to go ahead and mark as completed. Click Next. I believe there was just 2 of these units prior to the quiz, so the next one should actually be the quiz. Okay, Pop Quiz Module 2. Again, we have the content area here. And so what I'm going to do on this quiz, if you remember, it's a non-blocking quiz. I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple of these incorrectly again, just so that we can show how we will display the corrected answers. So the first question, which of the following does WP Courseware utilize for navigation? Correct answer is all of the above, but I'm going to go ahead and just say sidebar widget. Does WP Courseware allow shortcode to create course outline? Yes, that is true, but I'm going to select false. And does WP Courseware have a sidebar widget? And I'm going to go ahead and say true because it is true. And we're going to submit our answers. And you'll notice we only got 1 out of the 3, 33% of the questions correct. But it does allow you to complete the module, and what it does is it gives you the correct answer. So if you noticed, each answer was corrected here, allowing the student to understand what the correct answer was. And from here, you can actually go ahead and proceed to the next unit. So what we want to do now is go back to our admin panel, and we want to go ahead and take a look at the students' progress and look at their actual scores for the quizzes. And so if we go over to our WordPress admin panel under users, we're going to click all users, and you'll notice I am user number 1 here. I'm enrolled in 2 different courses, and the course that I was enrolled in, currently taking quizzes in, was the WP Courseware course. And what we can do is click View Detailed Progress next to the student. And here we have a quick glimpse of exactly what was going on with this student. So if you notice, my first course, which was Course 101, I have no quizzes in there, hence why there's really no data up in here. But what we're interested in is the WP Courseware course, because in here, I actually completed some of these units, and I completed 2 of the quizzes that were available. And over here we have the quiz status, which tells us what the grade was for the actual quiz. It's just a quick look at what they were. Now, if we wanted to go into a little more detail and find out, well, what exactly did they get right? What exactly did they get wrong? We can go a step further and click the View Quiz Details button. And in here, we're going to go ahead and look at the exact questions that were available on that particular quiz. And you're able to find out what their answer was, what the correct answer was, and did they get it right. So if you remember the first quiz, I did get some of the answers wrong on purpose. I wanted to show how we were hindered from moving forward because of the percentage we received, and we did not meet the requirement. And then I went ahead and retook the quiz and got every answer correct. So it did base it on the final answers that I had. So I did get 100% on that quiz. And so if we go back one level here, we can look at the second quiz, which I only got 1 out of 3 at 33%. And if you notice, it tells exactly which answers I got correct. And now we can return back to user summary. And so that concludes the quiz feature video tutorial. Thank you for watching.